A lot of people ask us about the concept of full mouth rehabilitations as a prosthodontist or a general dentist after BDS. To answer this question, we have got an eminent personality, Dr. Moez Khakiani, who talks about this full mouth rehabilitations extensively. Dr. Moez Khakiani is an MDS in prosthodontics and oral implantology. He is a professor at Karnavati School of Dentistry, Ahmedabad. Other than that, he is a fellow of TMD, orofacial pain, and dental sleep medicine from Roseman University, USA. He is also a postgraduate in aesthetic and cosmetic dentistry from the State University of Buffalo, USA. He is also a KOL for various companies like Colgate, 3M, Abbott, IPCA, and so on. He is also the proprietor for Smile Masters and Jaw Joint Matters, Bandra West. He is the course coordinator for MIK Education and the co-founder of MIK Dental. He's authored the books Clinical Fixed Prosthodontics, Starter and Master Volume. I'm Dr. Satish Kumar. This is Kaizen Dental. Our aim here is to help dentists succeed. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining us today. It's amazing to have you as a part of our show. You were one of the initial people who got into prosthodontics when a decade ago everyone wanted to get into oral surgery or orthodontics. Why did you choose prosthodontics over those called star branches of that time?
You went straight for the jugular there. Firstly, thank you for inviting me. It gives me immense pleasure to be sharing a little bit about my mindset and my thought process with respect to dentistry and life in general. So, I know hota hai na ki bhai, when you crack the exam, your first thought is I'm going to take ortho, I'm going to take endo, surgery. Prostho is not something that often features on the top of the list. Let me tell you, prostho was not my first love.
Oh,
वो मेरा पहला पहला प्यार वाला जो scene था ना, that was orthodontics.
okay.
Okay, and I'm sure you understand, Satish, ke the teacher has a very important role to play in shaping your mind towards what is going to be your subject of choice for the future.
Absolutely.
So through my 5 years of bachelor's in DY Patil, I had this one professor from the Department of Orthodontics. He was the head of the department then. One of those rare double MDSs. He was an MDS in oral surgery and an MDS in ortho. And I was like his pet. All right.
Okay.
I was this darling, this so-called prodigal son. So ortho was always my first love. I wanted to do orthodontics, but life took me on a different journey, and I'm hoping to share nuances of what happened that changed my mindset moving forward into this interview. But prosto is like the one thing that I don't think I can do anything else today. If you take prosthodontics out of me, मैं रेत के बराबर हूँ. मुझे दूसरा कुछ नहीं आता लाइफ में करने को. So I am completely dependent on who I am as a prosthodontist because it defines who I am as an individual. Second BDS, if you remember, there was DADH. And one of the most loved, hated aspects of that was carving a wax block.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the truth here. The truth is I was insanely good at it.
Oh.
I was one of those जिसको लोग आके अपना wax block देते थे. Please, 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 मेरा भी. So I've always enjoyed aesthetics. I have had this innate understanding of gauging what line angles are, what the shape of a tooth is, that incisal edge embrasures, what defines the youth as against the male and the female and the young and the old and things like that. मुझे बहुत fascinate करती थी वो चीजें. So maybe somewhere down the line, because prosthetics is a lot to do with aesthetic dentistry as well. So somewhere I was able to join those dots, and here I am as someone who designs smiles.
Understood. But sir, people in general have this opinion that prosthodontics is about crown and bridges and dentures, okay? Whereas you talk all major topics like smile designing, full mouth rehabilitations, looking at it. So,
Right.
what are the various options other than just crown and bridges and dentures a young prosthodontist has in his play today?
Ooh, good question. Okay.
Before you listen to the answer to that question, if you're even getting one point out of this video, please do not forget to hit the like button below because the guest out here has taken time from his busy schedule to come and join us. And if you want to take your career to the next level, this is the channel you need to subscribe to.
Um, if you remember going through BDS again, if I tell you Perio, you can name one book. You study that book and you can pass an exam. I tell you conservative, you'll know one book. Dental materials, there'll be one book. If I tell you oral surgery, there's one book. Ortho, one book. When I ask you prostho, there's no single book because prostho is so goddamn wide a topic. There's so much to do when it comes to prosthetic dentistry. Let me just lay it out to you. Of course, dentures and cast partials are a part of it. Crown and bridge dentistry is a part of it. But the one new thing that has caught the imagination of the world, of course, is implant dentistry. And I know there is a lot of debate around implant kiska bachcha hai, right? Kaun sa field uska mai baap hai. And yet I am someone who very strongly believes that patients don't come for implants, patients come for the tooth on top of that implant, right? Which means it has to be prosthetically planned, which means prosto comes first and prosto comes last. The middle phase could be a surgical component, could be a soft tissue component. But unless you go in with a prosthetic acumen there, you may not see the wide range of success that implants have to offer, which means you could be any specialty, but you have to have that prosthetic edge to ensure that you achieve long-term success with implants. So I am thinking of implants as this, it's like gardening. It's barren and you want to see fruits in that area. So the seed that goes in, it's like this magic pill of sorts where you put in an implant into bone and you give someone a third dentition, right? Which is very, very unique because a lot of patients, when they lose their teeth, they gain value for the lost tooth, which means when we give them a third dentition, they're going to do everything to preserve the work that has been done in their mouth. So implant dentistry is very, very fascinating. Of course, something that I love to do a lot, which is full mouth reconstruction, where everything's broken, it's mutilated, it's battered. And now the challenge is in my hands to reconstruct everything, right? Rebuild. And I'm thinking of that as an architect in my head. It's like चार दीवालें हैं और हमें उसको पूरा डिजाइन करना है, सजाना है, savarna hai. So I love full mouth reconstructions. Also remember, prosthetic dentistry has this domain of the TM joint, right, which is the highest joint in the human body. And more and more and more, especially post-COVID, we've realized that patients are clenching and bruxing excessively, and more patients are coming to a dental practice with TM joint disorders. And I don't know of any other branch that can manage TM joint issues using conservative protocols like a prosthodontist can. Last but not the least, you have a cancer survivor. I mean, you're like that ray of hope to them, saying they've lost a part of their face and we're here to reconstruct, giving them their own identity back, giving them function one more time. So there is so much when it comes to prosthetic dentistry. I believe there are a zillion options out there. And all of this makes prosthetics immensely exciting to me as a dentist.
Understood. But sir, you love FMRs, full mouth rehabs, and you were among
Right.
the initial people to talk about full mouth rehabs when people were doing single tooth dentistry. Okay. But what
Right.
gave you this outlook that 10 years ago you were thinking that in the future people will be looking at full mouth rehabs? It was the senior dentists who had seen patients for 20, 30 years who were talking about it. But someone young at that point of time coming out and telling, no, full mouth rehab is the way to go. How did you get that idea and gauge what the future held?
Uh, push me against the wall, and that's when I fight back my best. Right. So I'm someone who loves a challenge. And when it comes to full mouth reconstruction, I love to take a path that is less traveled in general. That's my attitude towards life, not go with the herd mentality, which means someone had to, from the young generation, take up that mantle. And if someone had to, why should it not be me? All right. So that was my thought process. I was always looking for something more to do, because completed my BDS, took a 3-year break before I started MDS. So that 3 years was exploring time for me, saying, what is it that I can do in dentistry that is beyond drill, fill, and kill a tooth? I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to see how is it that I can improve the lives of patients and other dentists. Let me give you a quick sneak peek into what my growth years were. My mom has been a teacher all her life. So teaching is something that was in my blood, which means whenever I would read something, all right, in dentistry or in life in general, when I'm reading something, I don't read from a perspective of giving a theory exam. I read it from the perspective of giving a viva. Okay. What this basically means is whenever I'm reading something, I am thinking, how do I understand this in such a way that I can explain it in a simplified manner? And I needed a complex topic, which I could break down, make easier, and tell the world, if I can, you can too. And I'm someone who loves food. I'm a big time foodie. All right. And when you go to a place, you have the option of doing either an a la carte meal or you have a buffet. An a la carte is where you say, I want this dish, you're served that dish. Buffets, I'm not counting what I am eating. I'm not counting what I've ordered. I have the entire platter with me. That's how I like it. And that's a full mouth reconstruction. I'm not looking at doing crown and bridge dentistry and convincing every patient who comes in, acha, aapko ye chahiye, aapko ye chahiye. I'd rather do it once and then enjoy the fruit of the entire buffet.
Understood. But it is, a lot of people think it is easy for the star dentist who have star patients to convince patients for full mouth rehabs. Now, if I am someone sitting in a tier 2 city, my patients are concerned about cost of one tooth, one root canal, one RCT. Is it possible for the general dentist sitting in tier 2 cities and not having the high grade patients to convince patients for full mouth rehabs?
I think what matters most here is your mindset. How confident are you convincing your patient to get the treatment done and to get it done from you? Because remember, any and every city, no matter what tier it belongs to, there will be people who drive a Maruti, there will be people who drive the Mercedes. If you believe that you are in a capacity to provide quality treatment to the elite class, sure, all you need is one good case a month. I once attended a lecture which was titled Rich Dentist, Poor Dentist. And it started saying the rich dentist makes, just giving you a ballpark figure, 5 lakh rupees a month. And the poor dentist makes 5 lakh rupees a month. So what's the difference between a rich and a poor dentist? A rich dentist does lesser number of patients, but charges more. A poor dentist, on the other hand, is breaking his back day in and day out. Has probably an opening time, doesn't have a clinic closing time because clinic shuts when patients are done. This is one who's like, my operatory is filled with patients. I have 4 chairs, 5 chairs, 8 chairs. Chairs come pad rahi hai mujhe. I have so many patients waiting outside. I have no time for myself. I have no time for my family and things like that. I mean, where's quality of life in all of this? I think I was fortunate to land up in a city where people are more receptive to taking big budget treatments. But I am fairly confident, regardless of where you put me, I will still be able to convince patients, because patient convinces is not just about telling them the importance of what you're doing, but connecting with them on an emotional front. And that's very, very, very important. And unfortunately, that is not a skill that we as dentists are ever taught. Soft skills, that's something that I believe more and more clinicians should invest time and effort into learning, because that's where smart work comes in, hard work goes down.
So, sir, how do you convince these patients who are concerned about these treatments are expensive? How do you go about creating that connect with them?
Okay. I remember the first time that I purchased my own car, and I was very happy when I first purchased. It was a manual stick, and I had learned the first gear, second gear, third gear, and I said I'm going to go in my own car. It was, I remember, a few weeks later, not even months, a few weeks later, which is when for the first time I came to know there's something called an automatic car. And I remember telling myself, यार कितनी आसान है ये, काश इसके बारे में पता होता, I would have chosen this. A lot of times, patients who walk into our practices don't know the amplitude of problems that they have in their mouth. They often come in saying, ये दांत में दर्द है, अब ये कर लो, अब इसमें दर्द है, अब ये कर लो, इसमें दर्द है, अब ये कर लो. It's like EMI भर रहे हम, छोटा 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 काम कर रहे हैं. शायद उन्हें पता ही नहीं है that there is a bigger issue in their mouth. I think it all starts with communicating with them, letting them know that there is a bigger problem. And I often tell my patients that the problem that you have is a disease. People relate medicine better than dentistry. Disease is something that hits them in their head space, saying, oh, bimari hai ye. Yes, if you've lost tooth enamel, which is the hardest structure in the human body, be rest assured, this is not normal. If you're parafunctioning, this is centrally mediated. There is probably a bigger issue that's happening. And if you continue that habit, you're going to keep breaking the dentition down more and more and more. So the one thing that I often tell my patients, I love to do what I call bhavishyavani. लोग हाथ की रेखा देख के बताते हैं, हम दांत देख के उनका फ्यूचर बताते हैं. I will show them a picture. वो कहते हैं ना डर का बिजनेस. I will show them this picture saying, if timely treatment is not done, these are the several issues that you can face in the future. My understanding is the job that I have at hand as a dentist is first educating my patient, helping them make a decision, and then taking them through the journey of that reconstruction, step by step. It is not compulsory that if I tell my patient you need a full mouth, my patient has to get it done then and there. Zaruri nahi hai. Leave the ball in their court. Do your job well. Explain to them the pros and the cons of getting it done vis-a-vis not getting it done. And if you feel that they show some sense of comfort, saying, okay, I'm going to think about this, then walk the journey with them, step by step by step. Help them understand that you're there with them. Because you probably don't know what that patient is going through on a mental basis, on a physical health basis, on a financial basis. So you can help them make a decision, but you can't force yourself upon them. And if they do agree to it, just do the best that you can for them, because they are now your visiting cards. Always remember, a happy patient speaks to 10 others. An unhappy patient will speak to 100 others. So you'd rather do less work, but quality work, and ensure that you go to sleep peacefully knowing you could not have done it any better. And then allow your patients to be the perfect testimony for the kind of work that you do.
Understood.
Small little things. Remember, you make an investment, you don't get returns the same day. It's after years and years that these investments come through. So toil today, do the hard work today, do the diligence today, be empathetic towards your patients today, because in the future is when this will all pay off. And then when it pays off like this. Initially, it's always a slow growth. But जब तक ये नहीं करोगे, तब तक आपका rocket launch नहीं होगा.
Understood. You were talking about when you bought your first car and everything. Similarly, when patients come to a clinic, okay, the first thing is when we buy a car, we say kitna deti hai, as in mileage. Similarly, when patients come to your clinic, they're spending a huge sum, okay.
Yeah.
If they end up asking you, how long does this treatment tend to last? What is your answer to them?
Okay. If they're asking me how long does it last, the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Because it tells me they're at least thinking about it. जो बंदा बोलता है ना मैं पूछ के सोच के बताऊंगा आपको, that person is never coming back. If someone's asking you how much time will it last, think in your head, small tick, saying you've convinced this individual to think a little beyond what you thought कि भाई नहीं नहीं ये बंदा शायद करवाएगा. Be very happy. And this is again where I go to the medical model and I tell them life का कोई भरोसा नहीं है. All right. Tell me, if you spend 5 lakh rupees getting a bypass surgery done, are there guarantees to the fact that you will get off the table and live for 20 years? No. This is the human body. I simply tell them, I cannot guarantee how long will this last. But what I can guarantee you is I will walk the journey with you. I will not leave you. वो famous dialogue है ना, हाथ नहीं छोड़ना, साथ नहीं छोड़ना. And that's the kind of trust that I want to instill in my patients. I want to let them know that I'm here for them. All right. And what I love to do when I plan my full mouth reconstructions is I always work with packages for patients, which basically means I tell them this will be the cost of the treatment if you choose this particular prosthetic material. Let's say PFM, the cost will be this much. Zirconia, the cost will be this much. Emax, the cost will be this much. I've included the cost of a splint that they have to wear at the end of the treatment. I've also included the cost of a follow-up with them. And I'm telling them here, whatever I do to your treatment, if I need an extra root canal to be done, it's on me. A crown lengthening done, it's on me. An extraction to be done, it's on me. I'm not going to charge you extra for that. You pay only this much. I think it's a very fascinating way of getting them to build trust, because imagine you tell them X amount and then रास्ते के बीच में you tell them actually ना एक और procedure करना पड़ेगा, उसका 15,000 रुपया होगा. This patient has lost faith in you. This patient says अटक गया मैं, अब मेरे पास क्या option है. उसका जो confidence level है ना patient का, वो पूरा टूट जाता है. So I love working with packages because I know पेशेंट्स को पता है अब इससे कम नहीं होगा, इससे ज्यादा खर्चा नहीं होगा. And I always under promise and over deliver, and that's very important. Often in an attempt to convince a patient, हम कई बार ओवर प्रॉमिस कर जाते हैं उनको बोलते हैं हम आपको 25 साल जवान कर देंगे, आप पहले से भी बेहतर खाना खा पाओगे. I mean, you're raising their expectations to an unrealistic level. So always underplay it and then overachieve. And often when patients come in saying kitna time lagega, I will tell them more than what I anticipate. Let's say if I believe I'm going to be done with that case in a month, I'll tell them 45 days to 2 months. And then complete it in a month. They're very happy because you pre-completed the work. But if you take even 5 days extra, it doesn't leave a good taste in their mouth. So small little things. As I said, I don't guarantee everything will survive in your mouth. It's a disease, right? And I can't change that for you, but I need your cooperation. I tell them, it's my work in your mouth. You have to take care of this for me. Because remember, if this goes bad, there's no coming back. You don't want to become a prosthetic cripple, right? So you try to educate them and bring them on board on your side, because treatment doesn't end with just giving them crowns, right? They have to maintain this, and they have to wear a splint or a guard that protects the delicate porcelain for the rest of their lives. So this is a discussion I have with them before treatment, because whatever you tell patients before treatment is explanation. What you tell patients after treatment is an excuse. So you tell them that you need to wear a guard to protect the delicate porcelain whenever you sleep for the rest of your life. So they immediately ask, huh? Zindagi bhar pehenna padega? It's like, yes, again, relate to the medical model. You tell them if you have hypertension, if you have diabetes, for how long do you take medication? For the rest of your life. This is also a disease. It's a non-communicable disease coming from the brain, clenching, bruxing. Even if I give you the perfect bite, it doesn't mean you're going to stop bruxing. So you have to bring them on board and let them know that they are a part of the entire process, because this is a two-way street. I love to tell them, Tali do haath se bachti hai.
Understood. Now you have done your master's in prosthodontics, so you have learned all this. A general dentist, if he's thinking of getting into full mouth rehabilitation, is it possible? Is it achievable?
Sure. I mean, I am not someone who's going to go out there and tell you, if you're not a prosthodontist, you can't do a full mouth reconstruction. That's absolutely wrong. All right. Let me introduce to you this wonderful term, which is called as a prosthodentist. You're not an MDS on paper, but you're an MDS here. If you have the skill and the acumen to do good quality dentistry, it doesn't mean if you're not a prosthodontist, you cannot do a full mouth. वो कार का एग्जांपल मैंने दिया तुमको. That's a thought that comes to my mind again. How did you learn driving? Did you go into a car and then just start by yourself?
Of course not.
Exactly. Driving school, you had someone mentor, right? Someone guide you through the process, right? So my thought process at all times is gain knowledge, gain education. Find a mentor who can teach you this. Maybe call a prosthodontist to do a case in your clinic and see what is being done. Question the prosthodontist. Later on, take knowledge and attempt to do a full mouth reconstruction under the guidance of a prosthodontist. So remember, the first scenario is a prosthodontist doing the case and you're watching. Later on, you could do a case and a prosthodontist is watching. And then once you know how to swim, you know how to swim. It doesn't matter how deep the water is. That's when you go solo then. You know what matters at the end of the day is you deliver quality dentistry, right? It's not about who's doing it. It's not about whether you're an MDS or not an MDS. I think what matters is having the skill, the knowledge, and the aptitude, right? And be passionate towards it and be compassionate towards your patients.
Understood.
You should.
Now, but you have been training a lot of dentists across India. Now, if I've seen this interview of ours and I want to learn it from you, how do I connect with you and where do I attend one of these courses?
So I have tried my best to reach out to any and every dentist who wants to learn from me. And I've done this through 3 different portals. The first portal is for people who love to read. I have had that proud privilege of authoring 2 different textbooks, which are currently in their 2nd edition. There's one which is called as the starter volume, which is all about basic procedures, crown and bridge dentistry. And then there's a master volume, which is all about full mouth reconstructions, occlusions, smile design, implants, and things like that. These are available on mikdental.in. So these are books that you can call for and read. And the beautiful thing about these books is it's not a theory book that you read to pass an exam. It's a clinical guide. It's an atlas. It's full of pictures. All right. And as you scroll, you see pictures and you know what I'm trying to explain. And it's very simple language. You'll actually think I'm talking to you because it's not in scripted English. It's in spoken English. So I've tried to keep it as casual, as friendly as possible, not using fancy terminology so that you can absorb whatever I have tried to share. That's one way. The second is I have a lot of my content recorded and uploaded on mikeducation.com, which means it's all online. You can sit at the comfort of your home and learn everything about full mouth reconstructions from me. You can learn about temporomandibular joint disorders and their management online from me. You can learn about porcelain veneers from me. You can learn about complete dentures from me. And there are so many free videos in there as well. Do go and log into MIK Education and a new avenue and a new portal will open up about prosthetic dentistry. If you're someone who is apprehensive or scared about prosto, this is where the fear goes away. This is where you go back feeling empowered and confident, saying, knowledge hai, ab execute karke dekhte hain. And of course, if you want to learn from me in person, often I conduct courses, which are typically 4-day courses, where I take you through lectures, patient demonstration, and a hands-on on full mouth reconstructions and temporomandibular joint disorders. Again, details for these will be available on mikdental.in. So I have tried my best to put my knowledge and understanding out into the world. And of course, part of YouTube and part of Instagram and Facebook, where we all try to share our 2 cents of how grateful we are that dentistry has put us up on a pedestal where we can also teach.
Understood. So, my next question to you is, you have been an inspiration for a lot of people out there, but there would be some people who you are inspired by. Could you name them?
Okay. The one thing that I've noticed a lot recently amongst young graduates is there's a lot of despondency in there. I'm not sure if I've made the right decision in life. Dentistry is not that fulfilling. Dentistry is not that rewarding. And I'll tell you what, somewhere down the line, I had a similar thought in my head. Right? But this is where you learn from stalwarts out there. This is where you take example from people who've made it in life. All right. And there are a few people who are renowned. And there's always something that these people have to add, which cumulatively then becomes your identity. All right. These are small recipes for success. So let me share with you a few people that I have looked up to, who have helped shape my mindset. And a few of these, of course, starting with the old but eternally young man, that's Mr. Ratan Tata himself. He's a visionary, right, behind the Tata Group. And what is he known for? He's known for his pursuit for excellence. He doesn't like to settle for anything that's mediocre. And being a Capricornian, that's something that's a spark in me as well. I'm that go-getter. I'm that perfectionist for whom the smallest of detail really matters. And that's what really helps me in my full mouth reconstructions and my TMDs as well, because the game is all about microns when it comes to prosthetic dentistry. Right. So this is where reading and knowing more about Ratan Tata really, really helped. Also, another very famous man is the chairman of Reliance Industries. You have Mr. Mukesh Ambani, and he is known for his innovation and his ability to adapt. Right. So it's important that in dentistry, we always realize that we have to keep adapting to the changing times. There was a time when everything was about removable prosthesis because everything was about extractions. And then came a phase where everything was about saving teeth and doing root canals and then crowns. Today, I talk about partial bonded restorations because I don't like the concept of a full coverage crown. So it's important that we keep changing ourselves with time. We keep innovating and adapting to the changing times. Don't get lost. My dad used to always tell me, never be the first to start something, never be the last to give up on something. And if you're somewhere in that middle phase where you're open to change, I think it has a major impact, especially if you're a youngster, because you're in that moldable phase, right? And that's where if you learn to do quality work at an early age, you will realize that as time goes by, dentistry can be extremely fulfilling in every sense of the world. I also love the fact that, let's say, an Anand Mahindra, who loves to build relations. So for me, it really matters that my patients absolutely love me. I am here to bring smiles into their lives. I believe that's like my vision and my mission on earth. So I want to build relations where I stay connected with them even after the treatment. Small things where you hear them, because a lot of these people who are geriatrics, for them, uh, there's no one out there who's willing to understand what they're going through. And it's okay if your consultation's not 10 minutes, but instead runs into an hour. So what? You may have just sparked a new relationship with someone, and you never know how this comes back to you, not just in this world, but the world after. Because remember, there's something called karma, right? What you give eventually does come around, and not always is this in measurable or tangible matters. So like Anand Mahindra, I love to build strong relationships, and that's something that I would want more and more dentists to work on. uh, Invest in continuous learning is another thing that I've learned from Azim Premji, because he insists on lifelong learning, continuing education, right? Because as I said, times are changing, and you don't want to become obsolete in all of this, because in the world of composites, there's not a lot of room for amalgam anymore. So learn, all right? If you want to be that dentist who also wants to be known as अरे यार मुझे उनके जैसा बनना है. If you want to lead by example, you need to put in the man hours into continuing education. Another man, which is Narayan Murthy, he's known for his ethics, right? He's his hardcore love for values. And me coming from a family who did not have a lot of means, my education was not, the funding for my education was very, very tough for my family. They had to cut a lot of basic needs to get me educated. And today life has changed because education with proper ethics and not cheating anyone. Remember, it's not just about financial gain. Because if you or your parents are a patient, you expect the doctor to do nothing but the best. And if you expect the best, you should also do the best for any and every patient who walks into your practice. So another person who really inspires me from Biocon is Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, because it's about entrepreneurship. And I have had that privilege in life of designing products under MIK Dental banner. I have 7 design patents. So I have a site which
Great.
says attempt to do everything that can make dentistry easier for others. And last but not the least, Shiv Nadar, because it's all about philanthropy. It's about giving back to society. I think do these outreach programs, help the underprivileged and things like that. But all in all, remember, like in life, like in dentistry, everything comes down to commitment. It comes down to doing dedicated hard work, staying patient, staying committed on this lifelong journey. And I am someone who wants to see you succeed. All right. And if you are watching this episode right now, be rest assured that I'm rooting for you. Okay. Because remember, discipline is what leads to habits. Habits lead to consistency, and consistency leads to growth. And it's not about age, it's about energy. If you think you're too young to make a difference, think again. If you think you're too old to make a difference, think again. I wish you the absolute very best in your personal and your professional lives.
Thank you so much, sir. It's amazing to listen to you. All your lectures, all your speeches motivate people out there and have made a lot of dentists decide to take that leap for growing themselves and growing their practice as well. Thank you for being a part of us. Thank you.
Pleasure. I feel privileged.
If you like this video, do not forget to check out our other 2 videos here, which will take your career to the next level.